What is up, fellas? JPS Delivers here. Hopefully, y'all are having a good one. Goon Squad so far. Let's take a quick look at the Week 9 matchups in the league. We got Denton Degens facing Tilden Squad. Where's my God Skowski now? I know, unfortunately, they even just cut their other kicker on this one, but finish that lineup there. There's quarterbacks available. We need this league to be as competitive as possible. See right here. So Chandler's team 4-4 right now in seventh place, just outside of the playoffs. 16 playoffs, of course. Top two teams get buys. And yeah, seventh place right now. I believe there's a decent amount of teams tied at 4-4. Not necessarily tied. We got tiebreaker, but here we go. Let's look at it. It's a pretty lopsided matchup right here. Matthew Stafford against Oakland. Oakland's got a really good run defense actually, and definitely a team that you can beat in the passing game. I think the best thing you can do for this is to you know, just load up on this passing game for Detroit. Matthew Stafford and company, their running game was wasn't amazing with Kerryon Johnson, but now that he has been put on IR, I don't expect any of the talent or the lack of talent by their running backs, backup running backs. It's cool to see Trey Carson might be the starting running back for them this week from A&M, but still though, it's definitely a matchup to have on your side with Stafford and Galladay and whatnot. So I like that. Josh Jacobs, he's in a really good matchup. I like that, that correlation right there. Um, Pretty much, just having Matt Stafford and them, I think it's gonna be pretty high scoring. It's in Oakland. It's outdoors. Not going to be in the dome, but still though, Josh Jacobs is in a good spot. We saw even the Giants' offensive line do pretty well against Detroit last week. So I think Josh Jacobs in Oakland, he'll get a lot of volume this week and have a good game. And then Royce Freeman against Cleveland. They'll probably have to pass the ball most likely. I do like the Browns' defense this week against Denver. They're playing what should be a new quarterback. I don't know if it's Paxton Lynch or whatnot, but Cleveland definitely looks like a nice defense to play this week, and I think Royce Freeman will be targeted quite a bit in the passing game. As a result, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks coming into games, like rookie quarterbacks, first time starting quarterbacks. They definitely check down a decent amount, so I like that play. Tyreek Hill against Minnesota. Minnesota's a tougher matchup, but they're at home, Arrowhead. I could see the Chiefs beat Minnesota this week because Minnesota's just not the same as when they're at home in the dome. They still didn't look amazing against the Redskins, and they possibly could have lost that game if Case Keenum did not get knocked out of it. Tyrell Williams in a good spot against Detroit. Travis Kelce, I mean, he's going to be targeted quite a bit. Just a nice safety blanket for more. Marquise Brown against New England. Try your best to switch out a player for him. You got Trey Carson right there, Detroit's running back against Oakland. I don't know. He could be a decent play, but we'll just have to see. Definitely a player that you can plug in last minute if you do have some injury concerns. Bears defense against Philly. That should be interesting. I know we just saw Buffalo though not do really well against Philly's offense, and Buffalo was supposed to be in a really good spot and didn't end up well. So that should be interesting. I do think Philly gets another win against the Bears. I just think the Bears are way overrated compared to what people were thinking of them after the first few games of the season. Justin Tucker. Baltimore is going to get down the field. Maybe there's a good chance that he gets a double-digit game for sure. Considering that they might not be able to get in the end zone nearly as much against a really, really stellar defense in New England. Quarterback spot's empty. Might want to put a guy in there, Tilden. Tariq Cohen, he might get a decent amount of targets because Philly's going to be plugging up. I know David Montgomery just had a really good game against the Chargers, but the Chargers have been porous on the run game, especially with Melvin Ingram out. Peyton Barber against Seattle. Maybe he gets a touchdown or two. I don't know. But Mohamed Sanu against Baltimore, not a great play. Neither is Cole Beasley. Greg Olsen might be a good play against Tennessee. Tennessee hasn't been amazing against tight ends, and tight end has definitely been a scarce position this season. Chris Conley is in a good spot against Houston. Stefon Diggs is in just a really good spot. I don't expect Thielen to be back. I don't think he should be back, and that should set up for at least double-digit targets for Stefon Diggs, maybe triple-digit targets. We'll just have to see. But Jacksonville's defense against Houston, if you can try to plug in someone else besides that, I think that's going to be a higher scoring game than we saw last time. J.J. Watt is out, and that's just going to make Leonard Fournette beast and feast. I think the Houston defense, their biggest strength was in the rushing defense, as their passing defense has given up quite a bit of passing yards. So I do expect the Jaguars and Houston to be a nice game. And I guess what it's going to be over the pond in the UK. So crazy things happen over there, and Jacksonville is a team that I think they can score and play pretty well against them. So check out your kicker too, man. Next matchup, we got Pork Chop Express in the last place for the playoffs. We got two teams in the playoffs right now, 5-3 in fifth place. Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's a lot of teams at 5-3, a lot of teams at 4-4. I do think in the previous game we had showing Chandler's team is going to win that one. We got Jesus Christ, it's not going to fucking switch. It's not going to switch the players up. Really? All right, let's revamp this. Jesus Christ. Let's go to the box score. So it's Zaris' team 5-3 against Pork Chop Express, Justin's squad 4-4. Both, like I said, in playoff position. We'll have to see these players set up right here. No. We'll get to that juicy matchup later. But here we go. Tom Brady, quarterback against Baltimore. If Baltimore does have Williams, one of their better rush defenders, I don't think Sony Michel's going to do all too great this week. Even though we saw got 20 fantasy points, Sony Michel, the other time, but he had 22 fantasy points and he had 3 rushing touchdowns. That means he only had 40 yards total besides that. And that's upwards of that. I mean, he could have had 30 yards and 2 catches on half PPR. There we go. Tom Brady's in a really good matchup. Mark Ingram's in a tough matchup, but maybe Baltimore gets it going. They do have a good offensive line. Jordan Howard against Chicago. Chicago has been giving up a decent amount of rushing yards we've seen in the first part of the season, so maybe Chicago's defense is starting to open up quite a bit. Not playing nearly as well as we thought they were going to play after like the Vikings game, the first game of the season, as well as that Vikings game. Tyler Lockett is in a great matchup against Tampa Bay. Odell Beckham Jr. should be in a good matchup, or not a good matchup, but I think he can still maybe get a bounce back spot here against Denver. Dawson Knox in a good matchup against the Skids. Maybe you get 50 yards and a touchdown catch to get you double digits for the week. Alshon Jeffrey against Chicago. We've seen Alshon. I mean, is it revenge narrative against his old team? Well, I don't really buy into that too much. Alshon could have, a nice floor for you in this game. Larry Fitzgerald tonight again. If you're going to play Larry Fitzgerald this week, he plays on Thursday. Put your Thursday players at the front of your lineup if you are for sure going to play those players, because then, you're going to get fucked over and not have the flex utilization, the optimal utilization out of the flex to switch any player in. Besides, now if that's the case, then you take up a flex spot and something could happen to one of your other wide receivers, and that would be fucked. Cowboys defense against the Giants. It's an interesting projection, but I still think that games will be higher scoring. And Giants defense just brought over the Jets defensive lineman? Was it Williams from USC? I believe it was. Matt Prater. That offense is going to be moving, so it's a good kicker and a good offense. So there you go. Carson Wentz against Chicago. I think they can do decently well. We saw them last week do quite well against a Buffalo team on the road, too, in Buffalo. So I like that. Le'Veon Bell's smash spot against Miami. Dalvin Cook, smash spot against Kansas City. D.D. Westbrook, we'll have to see his injury status, but he has been getting more and more of the targets. DJ Chark has not been getting nearly the volume as what he was getting before, so maybe Dudu's a pretty good play this week. Adam Thielen, depending on the injury, obviously you'll have him out if that's the case, but he could be a really good play if he does play and is healthy, fully healthy. You got to just check the injury status on that. Zach Ertz against Chicago, always a high floor play, but it's just disappointing that you draft him as a top 3 tight end. He just hasn't been at that so far. Mike Williams against Green Bay, I think that's an interesting play. I'm just waiting for Mike Williams to start having touchdowns this season. And, he's been getting like 70 yards. I mean, he could be a wide receiver too for us if he can get touchdowns with that as well. Gets, 70, 80 yards and a touchdown. That gets you, what, at least around 14, 15 to 16 fantasy points, depending on the number of catches. Marlon Mack against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to be a tough matchup, but it's a great offensive line in Indianapolis. They could just run the ball. I could see that being a low-scoring game in Indy or in Pittsburgh between the two. I think the Panthers defense could get a decent amount of sacks this week. I like the play Harrison Butker. They're an Arrowhead. I don't like. I think that projection is low for the kicker. I think they're going to move the ball a little bit better than people think. Justin's going to win that matchup. That's who I pick to win that matchup. Max's team has been on a losing skid lately, but first win for Phil's boy, 1-7 on the season. It started the season off on a 7-game skid, and definitely quite a bit of skid marks right there for that team to start the year out. Peyton's squad, you got Josh Allen against Washington. Great matchup right there. Josh Allen can still get you 4 to 5 fantasy points just with his legs. I like it. Saquon Barkley is in a great spot against Dallas. Derrick Henry's in a pretty good spot against Carolina. You got T.Y. Hilton against Pittsburgh. That should be an interesting matchup with, I believe, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think T.Y. Hilton can still do well. Terry McLaurin is in a tough matchup against Buffalo, but we did see them get carved up quite a bit last week, so interesting. Mark Andrews, you got to play him if you have him, and I think he will be a guy that will get double-digit targets this week because that pass rush of New England's going to get Lamar running, and I think Lamar does have over 100 yards rushing this week against New England if he doesn't get knocked out of the game. And I think also, too, he won't have nearly as much time to throw the ball to a Marquise Goodwin, so Mark Andrews is a good play. Christian Kirk, it's a tough matchup against San Francisco, but he could just, because the game script, get a decent amount of volume. DK Metcalf could be a top 12 wide receiver this week. He could catch 3 freaking touchdowns for all we know. So DK Metcalf, he had 2 touchdown catches on 13 yards last week. He could have 2 touchdown catches on 100 yards and get you top 10 production at wide receiver. So I like that. Eagles defense. I love the Eagles defense this week against Chicago. Chicago's only way that they can carve up the defense is through the air, and this team can't carve up any fucking defense. Mitchell Trubisky, it doesn't matter if he or Chase Daniel is doing it. You're not going to be scared of either one of those guys. You should be pretty confident starting Eagles this week. Their D-line should eat up Chicago. Ryan Tannehill against Carolina. Interesting play. They might just resort on the running game quite a bit, but if things get, McCaffrey has a really good game against Tennessee, then you could see yourself set up well to have a game script for Max to have Ryan Tannehill have a week like he did last week, maybe a little bit better. Leonard Fournette, great spot against Houston. Adrian Peterson, really shitty spot, though, against Buffalo. If you can put in Frank Gore instead of him and then put in another guy at your flex, I'd like that more. Marvin Jones, like I said, the passing game could get, quite a bit of, targets fed to these wide receivers, especially Galladay, but I do like Marvin Jones too. You just never know when Marvin Jones is going to go off. DJ Chark, we'll see what the deal is with him and Dede. If Dede is injured, I think Chark's a great play against Houston. George Kittle is in just an amazing spot at tight end against Arizona. I think he should have at least a touchdown and maybe 100 yards in this game. He should destroy this Arizona team. Kenny Stills is in a good spot against Jacksonville. I think he can get you, 10 to 12 fantasy points just on one catch. Frank Gore, like I said, I'd put him instead of Adrian Peterson in that one. And then Steelers defense is interesting against Indy at home. And then, I believe what? Yeah, whoa, shit. I thought they were both on bye just because of the dashes, but no, the tied right there at kicker. I do think, looking at it, there's a possibility Max can win this game if Adrian Peterson is taken out of the lineup. I just don't like him against Buffalo, but I do like the check marks in ESPN on this one. I do like Phil's boy to get another win right there and feel confident heading into Week 10. We got Will's team 5-3, tied with another 5-3 team, Colorado Cream Pies. We got 2 brothers facing each other. This could be a nice, juicy matchup. But I do think the best is for last in this one. We'll show that in a little bit. Deshaun at quarterback, number 1 quarterback in fantasy. He's kicking ass. He's destroying, and he should be in position to, if you want to do any kind of stacks this week in daily fantasy, I think Deshaun with Leonard Fournette would be great. I think Houston's going to get carved up by Fournette, and Deshaun's going to have to pass the ball. So, like that, Christian McCaffrey is always in a great spot, top overall running back in the week, as he should be every week. David Montgomery, really tough spot if you can find a running back to fill in for him. But if his volume is good, he can get you a decent floor. Mike Evans is an excellent spot again against Seattle. Golden Tate is in a good spot against Dallas. Jack Doyle against Pittsburgh. That's interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see. Pittsburgh hasn't been nearly as good as they have been in the past at defending the tight end, so maybe that's interesting. You get a touchdown catch out of him. Robbie Anderson, great spot for a guy who could bounce back like he did against. God, who did he have that huge touchdown play to? I think it was Dallas, right? Yeah, I think it was Dallas. Huge touchdown. And he can definitely do that against Miami. Manuel Sanders, if you want to play him at wide receiver this week, go ahead and put him in your instead of Golden Tate at wide receiver. You just don't want, like I said, don't want to deal with having a last minute injury. And Patriots defense averaging nearly as much as Christian McCaffrey this season. So Patriots defense have been the steal of the draft so far in all drafts, and that should be interesting. Ty Long, switch him out, Cooper. Switch him out. I do think Cooper's team wins this week. But, I mean, Dak Prescott's in a good spot. Philip Lindsay, interesting against Cleveland, but he hasn't been used in the passing game, and they're going to be having to play catch up. Nyheim Hines could get a decent amount of catches in this game against Pittsburgh. We'll have to see. Edelman's in a great spot. Michael Gallup's in a great spot. Darren Fells, maybe he gets a touchdown this week. He's a top 10 tight end. That's fucking crazy. That's how much it's been this year. Juju Smith-Schuster, Indianapolis matchup. It's going to be tough, but I think he could. Get you a nice touchdown this game. Philip Dorsett against Baltimore. Interesting to play him and Julian Edelman, but they're definitely the type of guys that one plays wide, one plays a slot primarily, so you're not really taking too much away from each other. Seattle's defense, I mean, you get a touchdown interception, and you can get 4 or 5 interceptions at any given moment with Jameis Winston, so go ahead and play Seahawks defense. Interesting, especially at home against Tampa Bay. Ruby Gold, kicker tonight, they're going to be moving down the field quite a bit. I'm going to pick Cooper's team, though, to get to 6-3 on the season. 5-4 will be Will's after this. That's my prediction. Here we go, 4-4 in 8th place against a 2-6 season-ending IR. Believe he's been on 5-game losing streak so far. Jared Goff's out of the lineup. He's on bye. Take him out. Damon Williams might get more usage. He did score last week, I believe. Kenyon Drake's in a terrible spot, too, but he's going to get the starting nod for that Arizona team. DeAndre Hopkins is in a great spot, but however, Julio on bye, that's going to hurt Steven's chances of trying to get 5 wins to squeak out the rest of the season for a playoff spot in the fantasy playoffs. Evan Ingram's in a great spot against Dallas. Expect him to get a great amount of usage in the passing game. Miles Sanders against Chicago's in a good spot. Carlos Hyde against Jacksonville. I think that is a better spot than people think about Carlos Hyde. I think Jacksonville just lost just like a J.J. Watt, even though J.J. Watt's bigger to the Houston defense than a Marcel Darius. But still, though, those are two guys that plug up the middle and and definitely boost up their defensive lines, and they're both out. I believe out for the rest of the season is Watt, and out for 4 to 6 weeks is Darius. Chargers defense against Green Bay. Try to get them out. I think Aaron Jones is in a good spot against Chargers, which we'll get to. And, that's basically the case. With Zane Gonzalez as well tonight, could get you double digits just because they run so many plays and they love to just settle for the field goal. I think Coob's going to win this one this week, get to 5-4 in the season, and then 2-7 for Steven unless Sutton changes with those lineups. Here we go, folks, with the juicy matchup of the week. We got a 7-1 team. My squad, not to be a douchebag or anything, but against up and coming Barbecue Sauce, a team that we've always seen in the fantasy playoffs year in, year out. And this, could it get juicier than this? You got a 7-1 team, first place against 6-2, second place. And not only that, the projection is less than half a fucking point by 0.4, 136 to 100, 136.4 to 136 and 0.8. Right there, Bob right now is projected to win this game. Very well could. He's got Zeke in a good matchup against the Giants. Russell Wilson in a terrific matchup against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Kenny Galladay's in a great matchup against Oakland. I think Allen Robinson, even though Chicago's not going to overall do anything worth a damn, I think he could still get 100 yards and a touchdown against Philly. Philly's been porous in the passing game. And then you got Hunter Henry against Green Bay, should be interesting. James Conner against Indianapolis. What the fuck's his name? Backup running back that's done well for the Steelers. He's been injured lately, but y'all will figure out what his name is. I don't know why I'm not. Keenan Allen against Green Bay. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I could see maybe the Chargers pulling it out like they did against the Chiefs last season. Maybe getting a steal of a win at home. Not really going to be at home. Green Bay is like America's team now. Sorry, Cowboys fans. But that's apparently the case according to the polls. And Keenan Allen and them are going to have a really good game against Green Bay. Both sides. Let's be honest. I think Keenan Allen could have one of his great 15 target games against them. 49ers defense, just like the Patriots, they're probably the second biggest steal of the draft, considering, maybe at this point, just considering their defense are going to play every week. The two best teams in football are the two best defenses in football. And go figure, in a league that's full of passing and getting things done and scoring points, the two best teams in football have ran the parity, and bam, you have two teams with the best defenses in football, or the two best teams in football, with the Niners and the New England Patriots. Josh Lambo, best kicker right now in fantasy, and he's going to be in a great spot against Houston. Jameis Winston, I'm debating between him and Lamar. I think Winston could still get me 300 yards, a couple touchdowns. But Lamar offers the high floor, but he's in a tough matchup, so it should be interesting. I just don't know. Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs for this week, I think. Definitely under the radar compared to the top 4 running backs we're seeing. I'm pretty sure the top 4 running backs are McCaffrey, Zeke, Barkley, and Fournette. But I think Chubb could be the top overall running back in this slate. We'll have to see. Tevin Coleman's in a great spot against Arizona, especially if Breida's going to be out. Tevin Coleman's been, top 5 running back since he's returned. Thank you again, Coob, for that. Thank you again, Chris Godwin. He's in a great spot against Seattle. I mean, we just saw he's had 2 down games this season. That seems to be the case with Jameis Winston at quarterback with these wide receivers. So honestly, I think he's in another bounce back spot against Seattle here. Devontae Parker against the Jets. I think, you're going to get some Fitch magic against the Jets. Jets have not been good against wide receivers. I'm going to leave him in unless I get news that Devontae Adams is back. But definitely, the fact that my team is 7-1 and Devontae Adams has been out for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm sitting quite well, especially when he gets healthy and comes back. It's going to be sick. Darren Waller, great spot against Detroit. Chris Carson's in a great spot against Tampa Bay. The matchup's not great, but they've been getting him at least 80 yards, a game, and he's most likely going to get 20 touches in this game, so I like it. Aaron Jones against the Chargers. Excellent matchup right there. Look at these running backs. Nick Chubb, top 5. You got Aaron Jones, top 5. Chris Carson, top 10. And Tevin Coleman's been top 5 since returning. Thank you, Coob. Thank you. And then I got Browns defense against Denver. I think that projection should get higher. We'll have to see. But then I got Houston's kicker against Jacksonville's kicker. So we'll just have to see. But yes, this is probably the juiciest matchup we've had this season. It's just set up that way. 2 teams that have already pretty much booked their ways into the playoffs, Bob's and my own. It should be really interesting. I'm going to say Bob's going to win this week so I can curse him and jinx him. I know I have a wooden table right in front of me, but I ain't knocking on wood, bitch. It's time to get an 8-1. 8-1 would be sick. It would be sick. But yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be a great week. Fellas, that will conclude Week 9's Fantasy Football Show. Good luck for the rest of the week. Like I picked, Coop's team is picked to win. Picking Cooper's team to win. Picking Peyton's team to win unless the quarterback situation is exponentially improved on Max's side. I think I'm going to pick, this week I'm going to pick Justin's team to get another win, and I'm going to pick Chandler's team. So there's going to be quite a bit of 5-4 teams we're going to see in the next week. As always, fellas, take care. Be grateful for everything that comes to you. And Godspeed this week. Godspeed, gentlemen. Godspeed. Take care, have a good one, and enjoy your Halloween. It was the monster.